What is up, my friends, and welcome to a very special and very important video, not only for this channel, but for myself included. So for this video, I've teamed up with LG for their UltraWide class to give you guys some technical tips as well as personal advice that I feel will help you get your career started as a producer and a creative in the music industry. Now, if you're new to my channel, it is geared towards rap, hip hop, and R&B production. So that's the direction that we're going to be going with this video. So without further ado, let's get into tip number one. All right, so for this first portion, I wanted to make sure we don't leave out anybody who might just be beginning and may have never made a beat before, and they're wondering what components go into making a beat. So we're gonna check out the drums and then the melody. And for this example, I'm using a track that I worked on with a really good friend of mine, Drock. It's very simple. It's like 10 tracks, I think, all together. So let's hear the drums. We'll listen to all of them individually, and then we'll play everything together. All right, so that's just 6 tracks. Let's check this out. We've got the kick, which we can solo here. We're at 130 BPMs, so I'll put the metronome on so you can hear that as well. So let's bring in the kick. Followed by the clap with some perks. And now we've got the hi-hat. Some accent hi-hats. And now we've got an open hi-hat. So you can already really feel the bounce of the track. And now let's bring in the 808, which is like the bass, the lows of the track. All right, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, that's 6 tracks. And there's already like a deep groove going on there. So it's really all about the rhythms that you create with the tracks that you have. And let's check out the melodies that we've got. Could turn the metronome off. All right, so as you can hear, the keys kind of play more like the mid range, whereas the flute accents in the high range. So when you are making beats, make sure you get instruments that kind of cover the different ranges, and try not to overcrowd one frequency too much, because then you'll start to get instruments that clash together. That being said, let's listen to everything all together and hear how it sounds. So there you have it. That's just an 8-bar loop of the beat. Start off simple. You can definitely make something like this with the stock sounds that you've got, whether you're using Logic, FL Studio, Ableton, whatever DAW you're using. And those are really the essential elements that make up a rap beat, a hip hop beat that you might hear on the radio today. All right, so now that you've seen the essential components that make up a beat, let's say you've started making a beat, you've got that 8-bar loop, and you want to turn it into a full track. How do you do that? What I'm going to show you is kind of like my go-to structure for arranging my beats, and you can't really go wrong with this. So let's take a look at what we got. So we've got an 8-bar intro, an 8-bar pre-chorus, and then it goes straight into the verse, which is 12 bars. Then we have the chorus that comes after that, which, like I said, is the same as the hook. That's another 8 bars, and then another 12-bar verse, or the 8-bar chorus, and then yeah, 8-bar chorus and then a 4-bar outro. So that's really a simple structure. Another thing you can do is listen to beats or songs that you really like and then count along with it, and just kind of like write down the structure that they have. So then when you're sitting down and producing, you can try and like recreate the same structure with your beats. Really quick, let's just go from the verse and listen through to the chorus. So essentially arranging is kind of the art of bringing in sounds and taking sounds out to kind of build back up to different moments within the beat, within the song. So this is going to be the first section. This is the beginning of a first verse. And what I did was I took the kick out and I brought that back in later. So you'll hear that. Let's check this out. So now the kick is going to come in right here. And so what that does is really push it forward into the next section. So here I introduce a flute and an open hi-hat. And so now this is going to be the last section of the verse. So I brought it down to give myself room to build back up into the hook. So this will be the hook of the song. This will be the second half of the hook. So pretty much what it is, you can highlight, say this is a loop that you've made. You can just copy it, and then like I said, it's really the art of taking away sounds and then introducing them back in to build back up to like the hook or whatever moments you want to be, like those hype moments in the beat. So I like to work in 8-bar phrases, 8-bar sections. That really just keeps it organized for me. You can't go wrong with this structure if you're just at home making a beat and you want to put it up on your website to sell it or send it out to an artist, whatever it is. And then later on, if you do get it placed or an artist wants to work with you on it, you can always change it around if they have a different idea in mind. But this is definitely my go-to structure, and I like to keep it simple. All right, now you've got the components that you know you need to make a beat. You made your 8-bar loop and you arranged it into a full track. Now, how do you get this mix to sound good to the point where if you put it on your website or you go and send it out to somebody, when they turn that on, it's gonna knock and be loud and sound like, good enough that they're like, all right, I want this. So mixing is really all about leveling. That's the biggest thing, is finding those sweet spots where you want your sounds to sit within the mix. And one thing that I like to do, I'll mix on my speakers, then I'll go and listen to the mix on my headphones, and then I'll go and listen to it in the car. You want to hear it in all the different situations that people are going to be listening to your music on, and say, all right, you can go and make your adjustments from when you hear different things on different situations. But mixing is all about leveling. So, all right, I've got nothing on my stereo output. I haven't done anything. All I've done is leveled. I'm already mixing my beats by the time I've got that 8-bar loop, which is where we started off on with our arrangement. So I'm already leveling my stuff as I'm making the beat. And I would definitely recommend that to all you guys out there. So let's just hear that without anything on the stereo output. Okay, so it sounds good, but say you're bouncing your beats and you're noticing that it's just not loud enough, it's not hitting the way that it might sound in Logic, and it's not sounding very good when you're turning it into an MP3 and listening to it later. What I like to do, like the bare minimum that I do, is I put a compressor and a limiter on my stereo output. And for this example, I've done a stock Logic compressor. This is just the, what you're gonna do is just go down to dynamics and pick the adaptive limiter. All right, so say you've got -5 dB of headroom. You know your music isn't gonna peak because that's basically the limiter. That's limiting how far the volume is going to hit. And now you brought up your gain some. So let's turn this on. This is without it, and this is with it. So you can hear a clear change in volume. Basically what that's doing is taking any frequencies that might be, or any sounds that might be low, and bringing them up. It's boosting everything up to hit that ceiling that you've got going on. Now another cool tool that I like to use on all my beats to see what's going on. This is also stock in Logic for everybody who's working with stock plugins. This is called the multimeter. And you're just gonna go, if you're in here, you're gonna go to metering, and multimeter is right here. So what this does is it shows you all of your frequencies from the lows to the highs. And let's see where everything's hitting with where I've got my limiter at. So you can see my lows are hitting between -10 and -5, and my highs were hitting about -10. So when I'm mixing my beats, that's usually my target area that I'm looking for. But the key is, the biggest thing that I cannot stress enough is learning how to get your volumes and your levels where they need to be. And like I said, you just got to train your ears. So it's practice, it's listening to music that you really like and trying to emulate the mix, emulate the sound that they've achieved, and just doing it over and over and over again. So that's really how I mix my music. And you know, with just what I have on here, I'm comfortable sending it to an artist. I'm comfortable putting it on my website if I want to sell it. And that's really it, to keep it simple. All right, so now you've gotten those 3 tips down, and you want to know, how can you start making a career for yourself as a producer and a creative in this industry? I can only give you guys, my recommendations based off of my personal experience. And the number one thing that you need to do this is practice. And I know that may sound cliche, but here's the thing. When you practice, the more you put in work, the more problems you're gonna run into, the more questions you're gonna run into, and that's gonna lead you to want to go and find answers. And there's never been a better time to find answers than right now. I mean, YouTube, social media, all of the resources are out there. I mean, everything you want to know and need to know how to learn is on the internet. So just practice, as much time as you have to put into your craft, work at it, and get yourself to the point where you're going to be able to, create value for other people. And that's what's ultimately going to create, your network. And people are going to start wanting to work with you and eventually put a price on your craft. So that leads me to my next point, which is when you feel like you've gotten yourself to a point with your craft that you can create value for others, you need to be taking advantage of every platform there is available to you. Before I started my YouTube channel, which was September of 2016 is when I posted my first video, I had 0 following, and I had been putting out music and having no response. Nobody was really listening. And I'm thinking to myself, like, am I not good enough? Like, what's going on? So finally I started my YouTube channel, and I had the idea to start my channel about 2 years before I actually did. So that's another thing, is if you have an inclination or the idea to do something like that, start a channel or a blog, whatever it is, just do it. Don't overthink it. That was my issue. But anyways, I started my channel, and my very first video after a month or so got on YouTube's trending page. Now it's got 1.4 million views. And that's not to, brag or anything. That's just to show you like what a single video can do for your career. And that could have been your first video, or it could have been my 10th video. The point is that you need to be putting out content. So don't focus on how many followers you have, how many views, plays, whatever. Focus on creating good content and being consistent. Put it out weekly, or, twice a week, whatever you can do. It could be every other week, whatever you're able to do, and then scale from there. But take advantage of every platform that there is at your disposal, and, just make content, get it out there. So to wrap this up, I just want to give a big thank you to LG for bringing me on board for the UltraWide class. I cannot thank you guys enough. I mean, that's another thing. Without my YouTube channel, this opportunity never would have come. So for all of you guys out there thinking, should I start this? just do it and then, you know, build it as you go. And like I said, I know it's hard to explain all of the tips that I went over in the video in a short amount of time. So if you guys have any questions, you know, subscribe, PatRyanOfficial. Feel free to message me, and you know, I can always create more content to go in depth a little bit more. But thank you to everybody watching, and until next time, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.